Warning, the following video will contain content that is not appropriate for children. Viewer discretion is advised. What's up, everyone? Welcome back for another one of my fucking Pokemon Battle Revolution discussion battles. Fuck yeah. Alright, so kind of like I was talking about last time, this time I'm going to be discussing the whole process of how buying my car went. My new car, anyway. So I'm going to be discussing how that went and all that good shit, because, yeah, it was interesting, I'll say that much. So, me and my mom went to this, it was a used car dealership, right? So, kind of this small little shop. So we get there, right? And, like, I was shocked immediately by, like, how many tiny, like, because, you know, this dealership was small, literally just, like, I don't know how you describe it, like, literally a lot, literally, like, one small little lot, and they packed, like, somehow, like, I swear to God, there was, like, 70 cars packed into this tiny little lot, and I'm like, what the fuck, you know, like, how the shit did they manage to do that? So they had a lot of cars there. Like, it was impressive in its own way, but at the same time, it's like, wow. You know, we didn't even know where to fucking park, right? So we just kind of, like, parked in a random spot on the lot, you know, and they weren't quite open yet. We got there, like, a couple minutes before they opened or whatever. So we start walking around, you know, and we find the car that I was looking at online, because I had already done the research online and looked up this car to see, you know, make sure that it hadn't had any, like, major damage or any accidents or whatever. And so we, you know, just started kind of looking at the car, you know, because we found it on the lot. It was a little bit beat up, you know, wasn't perfect, has a few dings and scratches here or there, which, you know, it shouldn't really affect the drivability of the car. So I'm like, okay, you know, it's a pretty cool looking car, you know. So then someone comes out, right? Because me and my mom are kind of just standing there in this lot, right, looking at this car. And before I go any further, let me explain something to you guys. The reason why I brought my mom with me. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, like, multi-step. We're now going to ask you to hand over your man card because you asked your mommy to go with you to help you buy a new car. So, I know, a lot of you guys are going to probably ask me to surrender my man card, but hear me out, alright? First of all, I know it's a stereotype that, you know, all men know shit about cars, you know, like all men are experts on cars and shit like that. So, how about you fucking check your privilege and stop imposing your fucking gender roles on me, you fucking pieces of shit. God, I love using the liberal agenda to my advantage. Alright, anyway, but yeah, seriously, how dare you fucking impose your gender roles on me? You fucking pieces of shit, first of all. Second of all, to be honest, I don't know anything about cars. I know that when you hit the gas pedal, they move forward, right? And when you hit the brakes, they stop. And for the most part, that's all I need to know about cars. You know, in order to drive them, right? I mean, I know a few things, you know, I'm exaggerating, you know, I know a few things about cars. I know a few basics, and that's about it. But here's the deal. My mom, right? My mom basically grew up, spent a lot of her childhood at racetracks because my grandpa was a race car mechanic. So my mom spent a lot of her childhood watching my grandpa fix cars, you know, and just tinker with cars and shit. You know, like he'd be out in the garage or whatever, and my mom would just, you know, help him fix, you know, cars or whatever, or, you know, she would be sitting there watching him fix this car, and she would, you know, hand him tools or hand him a beer or whatever, and yeah, she would just be out there with my grandpa while he fixed cars and shit, so she picked up a lot of that kind of shit, you know, she spent half her childhood, you know, at fucking racetracks and shit, and, you know, watching my grandpa fix cars and shit, and learning a lot of that shit, so I'm not ashamed to admit, my mom knows a lot more about cars than I do. You know, that's just a fact. So, for me to bring my mom there, in my opinion, is actually a smart move because she knows a hell of a lot more about that shit than I do. So, that is why I brought my mommy with me to help me frickin' buy a new car. Because, again, you know, I don't know much about cars. My mom does, so kind of a smart thing to do. Also, if I had decided to buy the car right then and there, I would have needed someone to drive my old car back so then I could drive the new car back. Right? Which makes sense. So it also makes sense to just have two people there, so that way one person could drive my old car back and one person could drive my new car back as well. My mom happened to be available during that time. So that's, again, the other reason why I brought my mom with me, too, for a practical reason. So I brought her with for knowledgeable reasons and for practical reasons as well. So, so this lady comes out, right? We're just kind of standing in the lot, talking, me and my mom anyway. We're just looking at this car. So this lady comes out, right? She's like, oh, you must be Multi-Step, right? The guy who sent me that email about this car. And I'm like, yep, that's me. I'm Multi-Step. And of course, I'm not actually using my real name. My real name is Wolfgang, but, you guys know me as Multi-Step probably more so than you know me as Wolfgang. To you guys, I'm not, Wolfgang Schultz, some stupid kid who works at who works as a host at a restaurant. You guys know me as Multi-Step, the YouTuber. That's why I sometimes refer to myself as Multi-Step. Makes it easier for you guys to understand. But anyway, yeah, she comes out, she's like, oh, you must be Multi-Step. And I'm like, yep, that's me, Multi-Step, greatest fucking YouTuber in the history of mankind. I'm just kidding, by the way. Clearly not the greatest YouTuber in the history of mankind. So, yeah, we start chatting for a little bit and whatnot. And she's like, all right, you want to take this thing out for a test drive? And I'm like, yeah, obviously, dumbass. So then we go back into the store or whatever. She hands me the keys. She has to take a photocopy of my driver's license or whatever, just to be on the safe side. I'm like, yeah, all right. So then me and my mom hop into this car. We drive around a little bit. And I was actually kind of surprised because I would have thought that the person selling the car would have been in the car with us during this test drive. But she was just like, nope, you just hand us the keys and go take it for a spin. And I'm like, okay. Thought it was kind of weird because if I was selling a car, I would want to be in the car with the people while they're test driving it to make sure they didn't steal it. But I was like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to steal the car. I'm not a douchebag, this ain't Grand Theft Auto, so obviously I ain't going to steal the fucking car, but even still, I thought it was a little bit weird. So me and my mom took this thing out for a test drive and it drove fine, no problems at all. It drove very nicely. Didn't really have any issues for the most part. Then we, took it back to the lot, and we, kind of inspected the car, right? So, we looked underneath the car. That's something that a lot of people don't do just because they're either lazy or stupid. But you want to look underneath the car to make sure there's no, damage underneath the car. Because, cosmetic damage on the actual body itself, so long as the frame isn't bent or damaged, you're fine. It can have, little scrapes and shit and won't affect the drivability of the car. Which this car did have some, dents and scrapes and shit, but, nothing major that would affect the stability of the frame of the car. So, there was no worries there. So me and my mom took a look underneath the car and whatnot to make sure there was nothing, fucked up with it, because that's what my mom told me. She's like, you always want to look underneath the car as well, and we popped the hood, looked at all that shit too. And I trust my mom a lot when it comes to cars, because again, she knows her shit when it comes to dealing with cars and shit. She knows what she's talking about. She's not gonna, I was pretty confident that she wouldn't let me walk out of there buying a piece of shit car that's gonna break down on me right away. I trust my mom to have good judgment with that as well. So, we took a look at it, looked at the whole freaking shebang, looked underneath the car, looked at everything else, seemed to be fine. Had a couple minor issues, like the mirrors would not adjust, because they were, electronic, obviously, so they wouldn't adjust or whatever. So that was a minor issue. Also, the windshield wiper fluid wasn't working, which isn't normally that big of a deal, but during winter, that can be a bit of a big deal. Because I live here in the lovely world of fucking Illinois. literally the butthole of the United States, in my opinion, because Illinois is such a garbage fucking state. Although these days I hear California is kind of a shithole these days. That being said, I wouldn't know too much about that. I've never been to California, but I've heard that parts of that state are becoming kind of blech. And I've heard bad things about Seattle as well. But yeah, either way, that's a whole different story. So yeah, there was just a couple minor things with it. So then we go back into the store, right? I did have a couple other minor concerns, like a couple of the back tires, the treads looked a little bit worn, and then there was a bit of rust on the muffler. So I'm like, yeah, I probably got to replace that soon, you know. So, you know, we go in there, and I list out these concerns or whatever, you know, and, you know, car saleswoman, she's like, you know, taking notes and whatnot. She's like, okay, you know. So I told her, I'm like, because she had the car posted for $4,000. I'm like, considering all these issues and whatnot, you know, there's a couple minor things. It's not too bad. And to be honest, going into that deal, I was happy paying $4,000. You know, I actually thought that the price that they had posted was fair. You know, $4,000 for that particular car that I got, which I'll tell you which car it is next time. I'll kind of do the reveal of that next time. But yeah, for that particular car, I thought $4,000, and it only had about almost 87,000 miles on it, which the car was a 2003. Keep in mind, the car was a 2003 with almost 87,000 miles on it, which is actually really fucking good for a 2003. So I'm like, you know, I listed out my concerns and shit. She's like, okay, and then I'm like, I'd be willing to do $3,500 for it. And pretty much right away, she was just like, we're not negotiating the price. The price is dead set. And I'm like, huh. You know, because most of those car people, they'll be like, you know, they'll haggle a little bit. But this woman's just like, nope, this is the price. I'm just like, huh. You know, I thought that was kind of shitty, to be honest, you know, even just like as a show of, you know, kindness, as like a gesture. Like, even when I went to go buy my first car, I literally bought it from some dude behind a bar. Like, literally, it was just some dude selling his car. So we went to meet him behind a bar, and even he was like, he's like, yeah, I have it listed for $2,000, but, you know, just to be nice or whatever, I'll knock the price down to $1,900, which I thought for my 2002 Nissan Sentra GXE, I thought that was a pretty good fucking price. You know, so I'm like, yeah, let's do it. You know, even just knocking off just $100, you know, just as like a friendly gesture, you know, even that I can respect. You know, even if I ask for like a much lower price, but they're like, we really like the price that we have set, but I'll tell you what, we'll take off just $100 for you. Even that I can respect, but this woman's just like, nope. And I'm just kind of like, well, that's kind of shitty. You know, she's a nice person, don't get me wrong. She was very friendly and whatnot, but, like, just that one thing kind of really bugged me about that whole experience. You know, just the fact that she was so unwilling to negotiate on the price. She's just like, nope, it's a fair competitive price, we're not going to negotiate on that. I'm just like, not even as, like, a friendly gesture or anything, but I'm like, alright, you know what, fine. Because I actually thought that $4,000, to be fair, again, to be fair to her, you know, I felt like $4,000 was a pretty damn decent price for that car. So I'm like, all right, fine. You know, so me and my mom, you know, I thought about it for a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, okay, here's the deal. I will do $4,000, but I want the couple minor issues with the car, like adjust the mirrors. You know, I want the mirror adjusters to work so I can actually adjust the mirrors, and I want the windshield wiper fluid thing fixed. You can do that, we'll be good to go. I also want the muffler checked, you know, because there was a bit of rust on the muffler. I'm like, I want the muffler checked on that to see like what the approximate lifespan of that is, and I want the back tire treads checked to see what the approximate lifespan of that is. So if you can fix those couple things and then check up on those other couple things for me, then we have a deal. And so she was like, yeah, okay. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I went back a couple of days later, picked up the car. Those things had been fixed. So, yeah, we were good to go. And actually, there was also, the other thing I was happy about was that there was a little bit of tearing because this new car that I bought has leather seats. There was a little bit of tearing in the leather seat on the driver's side. They actually kind of patched that up a little bit, which I was kind of surprised about, you know? I'm like, I didn't think they would do that, but yeah, they patched it up a little bit. I don't think the patches will last that long, so I mean, it won't be too much longer before the seats, you know, kind of dilapidated again, but they actually, like, fixed that up, so I was like, okay, that's kind of nice of them, you know? So, and these were not, you know, mean people, again, you know, I was a little unhappy that they weren't willing to negotiate the price at all, but, still, you know, they got those couple little problems fixed and even fixed the seat for me a little bit. You know, they told me, like, with the back tires that I got about, like, a year and a half maybe left, which I kind of expected. And about the same thing for the muffler. I'd have to replace in about a year and a half. So, yeah, I ended up buying the new car from them. And, yeah, that's basically that story. Again, it was a good learning experience, I feel like, for me personally, because, again, I'd never done anything like this before, you know, I'd never gone out to, like, a dealership before to, like, I mean, granted, it was, yeah, I call it a dealership, but it was basically a used car lot, but I had never, like, gone through that experience before, you know, at least by myself, you know, so my mom, because when I went before, I was kind of just, like, with my, God, and I hate to say this, but it was with my stepdad. And he's a piece of shit. I fucking hate him so much. But he basically did, like, when we went to buy my first car or whatever, and it was actually basically going to be me and my sister's car because we kind of went in on it together. He was basically the one who, like, looked at all the car shit and whatnot. He didn't really, like, show me anything or go through any of that with me. Whereas when me and my mom went to buy this new car for me, you know, she actually, like, showed me stuff. She went through stuff with me, you know. So, yeah. I feel like overall I'm very happy with the purchase I made. I think it was a very smart move to make on my part, and I'm going to be telling you guys more about why it was a smart move for me to buy this car next time. But I'm pretty satisfied with my purchase overall, I would say. I still have to call the other car people because I still do want to get the car inspected just to make sure, you know, just to have, you know, the expert opinion, you know, because my mom knows a lot about cars, but, you know, again, even she's not like a, you know, mechanic or anything, you know, a certified mechanic or anything. You know, she knows a lot, you know, enough to make sure that I wouldn't be driving away from that dealership with a total piece of shit, you know, but, you know, again, she's not a certified mechanic or anything. So, actually, I probably have to call them later today, the normal car people that I go to, see if they can do an inspection either, like, yeah, probably tomorrow or Thursday, because I actually have days off of work this week. Imagine that. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with my purchase overall. I think the experience was a good learning experience for me, so, yeah, it's all good. All right, well, guys, that will do it for that one. Stay tuned, and until next time, peace out.